Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ndosi. I am a social and business entrepreneur. I would like to begin by thanking the organizers for this event, Civil Society Initiative, and the Aga Khan Foundation for this great opportunity. I feel privileged and truly honored to have been asked to deliver a keynote speech in what is a pertinent issue, not just for our country, but indeed our continent and the entire globe. I'm sorry I was not able to attend in person due to work commitment away from my station this week. I have therefore prepared this short video clip, which I hope will help shape the discussions and generate a meaningful dialogue that will in turn inform the next steps for all participants. Ladies and gentlemen, we're living in interesting times where the job market is no longer aligned to the qualifications that many young graduates come out with from different higher education institutions. Unemployment is at an all-time high, and it is not due to lack of ambition or aspiration. This is true of both sectors, public and private. Many young people holding honors degrees and distinctions from reputable colleges and universities are failing to secure that dream job that is commensurate to their qualifications. Youth unemployment stands at 15%, according to available statistics. But the reality may be harsher, particularly in the urban areas. It comes as no surprise, then, that many young people are increasingly turning to innovation to make ends meet. There has been a sharp rise in social innovation and creative industries over the past decade, as young people have tried to grapple with unemployment, and I can relate to this very well. I mean, look at the Nyama Choma Festival. It was founded based on this premise. There are around 1 million young people in Tanzania who are linked to the innovation industry. The net contribution to the economy from this is approximated at 40% of the GDP. This is remarkable, given the vast majority of these industries are from humble beginnings with marginal capital investment. The contribution to the economic growth is simply phenomenal. But none of this is without a challenge, whether you perceive innovation as completely new or a novel way of working, behaving, organizing, delivering, or thinking, or an incremental adjustment of something that is already in existence. Its sustainability is dependent on the capacity to scale up. Irrespective of whether innovation is centered around initiatives, pilots, programs, systems, frameworks, or policies, a successful scale-up will depend on how well the following activities will be implemented: spreading, diffusing, disseminating, and adopting. This is precisely where the challenges arise. These are the determinants of a brand longevity. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what separates a successful brand from a less successful one. The evidence landscape for scaling up innovation is immensely diverse. We have also seen a couple of initiatives promoting and supporting innovation in the last 5 years in the country. Development agencies and private initiatives, although leaning more towards health solutions, have pioneered a much larger movement which has led to the discussion at hand. I will take this opportunity to also commend the work of DFID, HTIF, the World Bank Tanzania, and some of our local heroes in this field, Sahara Sparks, Buni Hub, Kino Hub, who have been at the forefront in encouraging young people to innovate. We have also seen impressive solutions like mobile money, e-commerce, and applications that are aimed at improving and simplifying access to some services, the likes of Twende, which is the local version of Uber, and it has Boda Boda tools, Hello Food, Kivuko Buy and Sell, as well as Time Tickets, which has made e-ticketing way easier. Innovation and research are inextricably linked. Innovation with robust evidence base are best. Characteristics in action that enable successful scaling up and spreading an innovation are many and varied. Interestingly, there are no distinct differences between fields as to the most beneficial factors for scaling up innovations. I would therefore like to focus more on the enablers for scaling up innovation and hopefully offer some pragmatic solutions. But first, I will touch on the 5 main barriers that are imposing on the viability of this ecosystem for innovation. For innovation to exist, we do need an ecosystem. Number 1, shortfalls, which are the resources difficulties. both financial and human, could derail or stall the scaling up of an innovation. Financially, insufficient funds to last the length of the scaling up process is the most detrimental. Likewise, too much reliance on a small number of advocates or champions or on one-on-one organizational partner can lead to organizational fatigue. 2, the design and setting difficulties. Too simple versus too complex an innovation design. One must strike a balance. Too simplistic a model can be a barrier as well as over-complexity. Geographic or collaborative isolation can also stall the scaling up process. Geographically, areas less densely populated or remote can prove challenging in building social networks and infrastructure. So to answer that question, do youth in Tanzania have access to this knowledge to scale up innovation? Considering most of the youth is actually in the rural and suburban areas, my answer to this question would be no. There's also siloed thinking and behavior discouraging cooperation. Many professional or practice groups can become self-sealing to outside individuals. Groups or organizations which slow or block effective knowledge exchange and learning between partners and collaborators. Sometimes they just want to be an inner circle and an outsider cannot really get in. Reluctance for wider organizational change would be the last barrier that I would cite here. Evidence-based innovations require some degree of internal changes by the adopting organization, and a new set of organizational norms and behaviors should be adopted that reflect core principles of the innovation. So after all those barriers, what are we saying? What are the pragmatic solutions that we can address as a nation, as youth empowerers, and as a nation as a whole? 1, preparation and compatibility. This is about clarity in goals and objectives. The process of scaling up an innovation should begin with all stakeholders understanding the purpose of innovation as consensus builds confidence. And here we're talking about every possible player that can be involved, from government institutions to the youth themselves, to all these development agencies who I believe share the same goal, which is advancement and a goal towards development. Expectations and perceptions. Staff support is easier when they view themselves as innovative practitioners. Building a culture that rewards and encourages scaling up innovation is conducive to the scaling process. Perceptions that an innovation is highly useful, relative advantage, and of low risk if adopted facilitate the scaling process. Number 3, communication and interactions. Knowledge, exchange, and sharing platforms. This is what I'm referring to here. Clarity regarding benefits, operational attributes, and goals is critical. Any proof of effectiveness, means of diffusion, and the rationale for the scale-up should be regularly communicated to all stakeholders. Communicating the innovation as responding to a perceived need increases motivation. Collaborations and partnerships. This is another vital element to making or scaling up innovation. Boundary crossing for more comprehensive knowledge. Such collaboration can increase variety, creativity, and knowledge utilization. Engaging social networks in the scaling process is a critical influencing factor for promoting an innovation and the decision to adopt or implement it. And therefore, with platforms like this that is happening today, I believe that the youth are going to be more exposed to such opportunities. But I would also like to put a call out to all those people, all the stakeholders, and all the agencies who are actually embracing innovation as a solution to the problem of unemployment in the country, to take an initiative further, to take a step further, and try to address the issue of making these opportunities available and making the youth aware of these opportunities, because I feel that that is where the breakup linkage is. Location and infrastructure is another thing that we should talk about here. Use of existing knowledge, research, and data regarding the context, situation, and demographics can help to understand implementing an innovation in a new setting, interregional clustering in terms of policy, and practice help to foster diffusion and spread of an innovation. Diversification through alliances with other providers of service and those with an interest in the issues within a region can help an innovation to grow. And here we would like to call on all the corporate institutions, all the corporate companies who are willing to extend a helping hand to the young people, but also to promote innovation as a solution to the unemployment problem in our country. Leadership and influence, multidirectional and not just top-down. Bridging the gap between top-down and bottom-up spread should be a primary goal for innovation leaders. One way of connecting the ties is to recruit champions from all levels and encourage their identification with lower-order groups. Technical assistance and mentoring is best implemented by leaders as an exchange rather than top-down directive. One straightforward concluding statement regarding the scaling up of innovations could be that there is no clear, unmistakable way to go about it. The process needs careful thought with due consideration of all elements and configurations, particular to each situation. Scaling up is not an uncritical approach to finding an innovation that seems likely to work and transplanting it, nor is it the process of finding what research states and treating it as definitive. Good practices and strategies that facilitated an innovation to be scaled up in the first place need to be continued into the long term. Determining the balance between fidelity and adaptation is difficult but necessary, as too much rigidity can result in incompatibility, but too many changes can reduce the innovation's effectiveness. A careful and informed approach is needed to determine whether an innovation can be adapted, and if so, how much and at what point. Monitoring and evaluation are not used only for pilots or field tests. This process needs to be ongoing throughout the scaling up process. So from my personal experience over the years, creativity and uniqueness are pivotal to innovation. Barriers and challenges are there to bring the best out of you, and resilience to me is key. It's all in the perception, half full or half empty. The challenges can be overwhelming at times, but one must never allow them to become insurmountable. I will leave you with these words that have inspired me and given me the motivation when needed. Without commitment, you will never start. But more important, without consistency, you will never finish. I wish you a very productive conference and workshop. I'm certain it will go very well, and I do hope to meet some of you in the near future.